Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. May I ask you please to tell us your name?
Sure. My name is Kevin Thomas.
Dr. Kevin Thomas.
Yes.
And will you please share a little bit about yourself, anything you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. So I'm originally from Prince George's County, Maryland. Those of us from Maryland know that we talk in counties and not necessarily cities. And I finished medical school in 1999, graduated from the University of North Carolina, and then went on to Duke to do my residency in internal medicine. And during my residency, I found a passion in doing research, and also decided to focus on cardiovascular disease and cardiology as a subspecialty. And so I did some additional training in that. And then I was fortunate enough to I've had many mentors that have influenced me over the years, but one particular gentleman named Roosevelt Gillum is his name, F. Roosevelt Gillum. We all call him Rosie. And he is just an amazing individual and took a personal interest in me that ultimately led me to choose the field of electrophysiology as my subspecialty within cardiology. And so I found a passion in that and have been practicing that since 2008 when I completed all of my training. And it's something that I get excited about. I've been doing it for a long time now, and I feel blessed and fortunate that I'm excited to get up and go to work every day. And I guess in that same vein, I've kind of evolved. And so I'm a clinician by training, electrophysiologist by training, and I spend about 40 to 50% of my time doing that. But also I'm a researcher, health disparities researcher, focused on research and health inequities in research, and focusing now, I think we're in an era where we've understood and are still learning, but we understand the importance of structural racism and the contributions that makes to challenges in healthcare delivery and healthcare outcomes. And so trying to understand that. And then the last piece is over the last 5 years, I've taken a role as the assistant dean for underrepresented faculty development at Duke. And so in that role, I spend time working with underrepresented racial and ethnic faculty members, helping them navigate the challenges in academic medicine, particularly at a place like Duke, where the resources are bountiful, but the challenges are many. And navigating that course, I think, takes some expertise, it takes some mentorship, it takes some sponsorship, and it takes community. So I spend a lot of time building community among the individuals who are at Duke, who are underrepresented. And so trying to ensure that they have level playing fields and they have opportunities to be successful in whatever they pursue, whether it's research, whether it's being just a great doctor, delivering clinical care, whether it's being a clinician educator and helping to develop the next generation of individuals who are going to be clinician educators. And so I feel blessed and fortunate to serve in those roles. And it's a busy schedule, but a very fulfilling one.
Well, thank you so much for that, Kevin. I have known you now for probably 5-7 years, and I follow your career a lot. And I must tell you, although I am significantly older than you, I stand in awe of you. I am impressed with your body of work. I'm impressed with your philanthropy. I am impressed with your concern for humanity. And I will tell you, those credentials are not easy to come by, especially in people who have struggled to get through, just to break through. It's hard to get onto that other side where you feel generous enough to give back, but you have done that in spades. I want to come back to your mentorship, but first I want to talk to you a little bit about something and ask you what you know about this. So a few years ago, there was much baha made about the cells of Henrietta Lacks. Do you see the value of those cells still continuing? I remember I read an article which said that her cells even were helping to develop the COVID vaccine. Do you still see value in her cells? Are there other cells that follow in the same vein as her cells?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And, this is a story, I think, that is so important. And it's impactful in so many ways, and the legacy of it is so rich. And I first of all, I hope it's a story that people will take the time to really learn and understand, because I think it is a tremendous gift to our profession and to the field of medicine, but it's also a tragedy in terms of how it happened. And it really highlights and magnifies, a lot of the things that have plagued the Black community and other underrepresented communities, quite frankly, where, oftentimes, we were experimented on without our consent, for, honestly, selfish reasons. I think looking back on the reasons, I think they maybe had a spirit of altruism, but they were really selfish and they didn't recognize the individuals who were contributing to it. And so I hope people, really embrace that. And we could have a whole, day full of talking about this and other things that are related. But I did want to kind of start with that. And so to your other point about the science, it's pretty amazing that, a lot of what we do is trace back to these cells of this one particular individual. And so the Black woman, that's exactly right. And so, I wonder, again, how many other opportunities are out there? And you are right, these cells continue to play a role in teaching us about, how we practice medicine, how medicine has evolved over the years. And it's just been an incredible, I think, gift to the medical community. And so I hope that the appropriate recognition is given, the appropriate compensation is given. It's never too late to right or wrong. And I know there's some work that's been done in that arena. And again, recognize that there will remain opportunities to take certain special populations and to appropriately use those to advance the medical science and to develop new therapies and how we deliver care and think about care. So I'm excited to hear about what other things will arise. And I think we learned a lot from and continue to learn from Henrietta Lacks in that story and her contribution in terms of what it has provided us and what it continues to provide for us.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to your mentorship. I don't know if you remember this, a number of years ago, I did a conference talking about Blacks in technology, and you sent a young Black doctor. In fact, I think he was maybe just finishing his residency. And it was really interesting. When he came and spoke to us, he talked about you a lot, but he also talked about the opportunity to become a doctor. His heritage outside of the United States, but to come into the United States and become a doctor, which is a pretty profound thing. But he felt like he had felt a safe place in you, someone who would, kind of walk with him through the steps that he was going through, kind of serve as a guide. And over the years, I have sent a number of young Black people who are becoming doctors, brown people who are becoming doctors to you to talk to you. And I think that what I hear from each one of them when they hear or talk to you is just always knowing that there's a port in the storm, and I think that's an amazing quality to give to you and that you give to your community. And for Black and brown people, there are not enough Kevin Thomases in the world. We need as many as we can get, because this road that we're on is very difficult, and it's not easy, how many doctors do you lose in residency or even in medical school because of the challenges and without seeing people who look like them? And I think it's important that you do that. So I want to raise your program, and I'd like you to speak about it as much as you can. Black Doctors in White Coats. So what made you start that program? What is the purpose of the program, and how has it affected your outreach? How have you improved or refined it, and what do you need to move it forward?
Yeah, so thank you for that. And thank you for those kind words. And I would say, mentorship is so important, right? And I once had a conversation with someone who said, and this was a person from the majority culture, and it was just a random happenstance that I met this individual, and, he asked me what I did, and, I told him. I usually don't do that. I'm oftentimes reluctant to share that because I want people to get to know me as a person, and, what I do is what I do, and I'm blessed, fortunate to do that, but it doesn't define me as a person. And I was who I was long before I became a doctor. Right. And so, I was talking to this individual. He said, "I bet your parents are really proud." And he was like, and I was like, "They are." And he said, "Well, you're just a testament to what hard work, can bring you to." And I said, Yeah, I was like that's true, but I think it's an oversimplification of things. I was like, there's a lot of people who work hard and who are bright and do things
and get nowhere.
end up, where I am.
Right.
And so it's the grace of God, but it's also people giving me the opportunity and believing in me.
Right.
And we can't ever forget that. Like, you can't think that you can, I don't care how smart you are, how hard you work. Those things are important. I'm not diminishing that. But you need opportunity. You need someone to believe in you. And you need to be given a chance. Because there are plenty of people just like me, probably smarter than me, who didn't get those opportunities. And I never forget that. And so along the way, I am so appreciative of people who opened doors for me, who gave me opportunities when perhaps, there were others who they could have given opportunities to. And so whatever I do, I remember that. And I try to create those same opportunities that were given to me. And they're necessary for everyone, right? These opportunities are given freely to certain individuals. White men historically are given those opportunities very freely.
And over and over again, even when they fail. Over and over again.
Right.
And when you fail, it's not so simple.
That's exactly right. And so, and with that, there is a burden that comes with that. And burden maybe is not the right word, but a responsibility, because I know that people are looking at me, even the people who I meant, who I'm a mentor for. And I tell them, I'm like, right or wrong, people are going to look at you, and your success will open doors for others, and your failure will close doors for others. And so we have to be thoughtful of that. And I pray that one day we get to the point where we don't live in a world like that, but that's how it is now. We just have to understand that. And so, but to your question, I've been fortunate and blessed, and I want to make sure the credit is given to those who are involved. And I have played a small role in this, is that the vision of Black men in white coats really came from a group of individuals, but the person who I would attribute most of that to is a guy who had incredible vision and passion about that. Is a guy named Dale Okorodundu, who was a resident, an internal medicine resident at Duke, and then went on to be a pulmonary or a lung specialist at University of Texas Southwestern, and started in a very small way, where he wanted to create a resource where Black men around the country could come together. And if you were at a place where you didn't have a Black male role model, that you would have a network that you could then tap into and find that individual who could identify and understand the struggles that you had. And so then it just exploded after that. And I really credit him for having a lot of vision and passion to do that. And I'm humbled and happy to play a small part in that. And it has continued to grow and flourish. Again, I've tried to, honestly rival some of the things that he's done here locally. And we've created a Black men in medicine experience here at Duke, and an initiative. And again, it's built in the foundation of supporting and having a community so that we here at Duke can grow and develop and be thriving. Because again, we want a pipeline that's robust, and we want to diversify the workforce, but we want to also bring people into environments where they can flourish, right? And people always, in the circles I travel in, they want to talk about recruitment and how do we get more Blacks in the STEM, and how do we get more Hispanic Latinos in the STEM and other underrepresented racial and ethnic members. And I'm like, if those of us who are here are thriving, the recruitment part is easy.
Right.
What you don't want to do is bring people into a system that is broken and fractured and creates inequities. Yep. So we start with building ourselves up, right, making ourselves whole, being support and peer mentoring among ourselves. And then we move out and start working and create that cascade mentoring effect, where we then can look at the folks right behind us, the trainees, and then the students. And then we move into the community, the K through 12 community. And so that cascade mentoring is critical if we're going to change this. The other thing that I think is really important is that we are oftentimes expected to do all of this ourselves.
Absolutely.
We didn't create this problem. Like I tell people all the time, is like, yes, I'm happy to offer my insights, but I can't do this alone. And, at a place like Duke and at other places, I'm like, we're supposed to have the best and brightest minds. And so what we need is for everyone to make this a priority, not just the Black and brown people, right? It's like saying, I'm going to give you a problem. Like I'll take, for example, I'm a proud parent as well. And that's like for me to create a problem for my son and say, well, son, look, I've created this problem for you, but I want you to figure it out and fix it. It's just not fair.
Not fair.
And so I think that's how this needs to be viewed as well. And we need allyship and we need support and we need the majority culture to say, this is a priority. We will be better if we are more diverse. We will be better if we can have more people in leadership positions that are Black or brown. Absolutely. Because that thought and that innovation is what makes companies better and what makes healthcare delivery better and what makes research better. And so we need everyone buying into that and not seeing it as a problem that the Black and brown people should take ownership of and fix.
Absolutely. And to further to that point, not to have it as a talking point, but a doing point. It's all right to talk about it. I'm sure you've heard, since we've been in the midst of COVID, almost everybody at Duke and everywhere else in the world has been talking about diversity. That's great. But the problem can be addressed simply by doing, right? So create policies. Hire Black and brown people in roles where they are visible to their communities and visible to other communities so that they can see that they're able to succeed. As a Black woman, I get all these labels that are strapped to me, that hinder me, that don't help me, and then I get put in marginalized positions. I'll give you a quick example. So in July of last year, Duke Law eliminated my position. But fortunately, one of the wonderful people at Duke Health, a gentleman by the name of Dan Bruno, said, hey, let me see if I can help you. But in essence, I got this job, and immediately the backside of it was that there was going to be nothing but negativity, or put me in this job that I'm babysitting and an academic assistant, but no real thing that uses my mind or my capabilities. And that's not doing anything. That's actually hindering it. It would have been better if Duke would have said, well, we're going to eliminate your position because we don't need you, or whatever it is we decide, but we're not going to put you in a position just to say we're adhering to diversity. I think that's unfortunate when companies do stuff like that. I think you need to be really intentional. And Duke, as along with a lot of predominantly white institutions, you're bringing Black and brown people into their universities. They need to bring Black and brown systems in place for success. Social capital, people that look like you who can reach out. And, I am sure you are almost overwhelmed with the number of people I send you in the course of a year because you're already busy, right? So now you've got this young medical student who's at your doorstep asking for help. And they're at the beginning of your career where you were, in the middle of your career. So, you've got to find time to do that. And that's because there are so few of you.
That's right.
And your social capital is so valuable, not only for you to, give it away, but also for you to find time to do it, right? So how do you balance your professional career, your cardiology career, your Men in Black coats, your social and philanthropy outreach, and then be a mentor to young people coming around, because there are not enough you. And people like me are constantly banging on your door and dropping someone else at your door. Unfortunately, you don't have time for everybody that I have to send. So those people that we lose, those best and brightest who have the potential, will eventually leave Duke or drop out because they can't find a source to get their water, if you will.
Yeah.
How do we address that?
That's exactly right. And, we actually have a term for it, as I'm sure you're familiar with. We call it the minority tax.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And just to give you an example, and I think that, before I give this example, I think it's, I have been, grateful and really encouraged by, the leadership. One of my bosses, Mary Klopman, who's the dean of the School of Medicine, and she, I've been so impressed because she has been so genuine with her interest in this. And you spoke to the fact, and I move in other circles where I hear people talking about it, but it's not met with authenticity. It's not met with action.
Absolutely.
Action is what builds trust. Action is what makes a difference, not talk. It's easy to talk about things. And so I'm so blessed and thankful when I am traveling in my academic circles, and when I can raise a term like racism and people cringe at the thought of that and say, oh, you can't say that. That's going to be polarizing. And I was like, well, I have this conversation with my dean and she embraces it on a regular basis. And so if I'm in a room of other individuals who can't embrace that, that tells me all I need to know.
Absolutely.
We need to not have those reactions, and we need to seek learning and understanding. If I say racism exists, that's not calling you a racist. That's saying we have structures and policies that exist, some intentional, some unintentional, but they all have the same effect, which is to create an uneven level playing field that doesn't allow advancement and opportunity at the same way for everyone. And so it's got to be really important that we think about that. And so, but to your point, that minority tax is real, and we have to understand that. And so, for example, when we think about at an academic institution, when you decide to be an academic, a part of your success is measured in your promotion, how you move through the ranks, right? And so the promotional process is largely governed by the majority culture. When you look at who's on these committees that decide who gets advanced and who gets promoted, there's very few individuals of color on these committees making these decisions. And so the minority tax is important. I was in a meeting the other day where I told someone, I'm like, you don't get asked the same amount of times that I do to do X, Y, and Z. And I try to do it all, but sometimes it comes at a price. Sometimes I can't finish that paper I'm working on. Sometimes I can't get that grant completed because I've chosen to mentor someone who really needs me to make a difference in their life. And I'm going to be asked 100 times to do that, where you may be asked 5 times to do that. And so if your dossier looks different from mine, there's a reason why. And how does the process account for that? So when they're viewing my dossier for promotion compared with yours, and you have more papers than me, or you have more grants than me, what is the equalizer that says, but Kevin had to do so much more because of this minority tax?
Right.
And those are the kind of processes and challenges systematically that exist that we've got to acknowledge and lift up and change.
Absolutely. And I will give you one more, and I'm sure you've heard that. Many Black and brown people call Duke the plantation. And I don't think it's unique to Duke. I think many predominantly white institutions or predominantly white organizations probably face that moniker somewhere in the back. Because when you look around, the people that are sweeping, cleaning, cooking, and doing all the menial things are Black and brown. But the people who are administrators and making decisions are not. And I think that in a lot of ways, if Duke is really, and this goes for any institution or organization, if they're really serious about this, they will find ways to bring parity where it needs to be. You talked about, getting promotion, tenure. Tenure is another one of those things where, tenure is based on the amount of research you do. How much research can you do and help at the same time and do your day job, right? So you've got to write, and you've got to help people who can't find a voice anywhere else. You can, and that's something, like if you look across the university, like you can find lots of white leaders, lots of white women and all those things. But for Black and brown communities, if you're going to invite them into the university, provide resources so they can be successful within that community.
You're right.
Absolutely.
And change the framework of evaluation. Like we need to redefine scholarship. We need to redefine the historical and traditional goals that led to tenure and promotion and things like that, and change them. We live in a different era. We don't live in the same era that we did 30, 40, 50 years ago. Right. And so as healthcare changes, as education changes, as scholarship changes, we've got to change with it to reward the things that are important that have not historically been done that. And so, that's some of the things that I think I am now spending a lot of time on, is trying to change those policies in the structure of how we have thought about that for years and say, that's not right anymore. And look at the injustice that has caused. Just look at our numbers, right? And how can we be better, and how can we change the process? And I think those are critical. And I hope that listening to forums, and thank you so much for spearheading and leading these kind of efforts and having these kind of discussions. I've had the opportunity to look at many of the conversations that you've had with tremendous, impactful leaders and influencers. And so thank you for shepherding that and bringing these issues to be highlighted, because that's the only way that we're going to bring about change. And so your platform is important, and I hope we can continue to lift it up and even broaden it. So
I hope so as well. And I will tell you, the Smithsonian said my chats were an artifact. So I think that's a good thing. I know we're running up against your time, so I want to give you any few minutes that we have left to say anything you might want to say. But again, I cannot tell you, Kevin, what an honor it is to have you as my friend and to have you in your role, because you are an example of a very, very bright light that we all can hold on to. I just hope that in your work, you are able to put more bright lights out there so that we aren't just looking all to your port, and your port is overwhelmed because you've got so much work to do. We want to help you be successful, and anything we can, please let us know.
Well, thank you so much. I think, again, it starts with efforts like this, having these kind of conversations, which I think, I continue to learn from. So thank you for all the wisdom, the knowledge, and sharing that you've given me today. And I just hope and pray that we all continue to put this at the top of our agendas. And, it took some really unfortunate circumstances to get us to this point. The George Floyds, the Ahmaud Arbery's, and go on down the list. And I don't even like to name them because you can't be as inclusive and include everyone. Everyone who has suffered and struggled and been mistreated and have been victims. I hope it's not all in vain. And so I really do pray and hope that everybody comes together to try to change this, because we see clearly, we continue to see the injustices that are occurring. And it's going to take all of us to make a difference. And so let's not let this window close. Let's not make this kind of a fleeting thing. Let's commit to being sustained and focused in this. Let's hold ourselves accountable, and let's invest in this, because that's what it's going to take to make real change. And I hope that the unfortunate things that happen to all these individuals can be a beacon of change for all of us. And so thank you for the role that you're playing in it. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and reflections as well.
I appreciate it so much. And I would just say to anybody that's listening, one of those names that we have said in 2019, 2020, and even 21 could be a Kevin Thomas. Any one of them could have been a Kevin Thomas. We don't know. And the fact that you're exterminating life without giving it the benefit of life is very unfortunate. And I think those people in power should recognize that they have the power and give opportunity, a chance, and not look at someone based on the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, or hips or lips. I think that people are valid because the universe gave us these people. We didn't pull them out of the air. The universe gave them to us. It's not our job to destroy them. So thank you so much, Kevin. I am so grateful. I hope you will come back when you have time, maybe later in the year, whenever you have time. But
absolutely,
I think there's so much to discuss, and I think you play such an important role. So please stay in touch and let me know how I can help you. I will help you anywhere I can.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You take care. Be well. Stay safe. Bye. And I'll send you a recording as soon as it converts. I'll send it to you.